Hello dear readers and subscribers. Today we have another video with great art since 2000. We have already covered painting, we have already covered sculpture, we 2 weeks ago also covered video and digital artwork, so audiovisual artworks. And today we're going to cover installation with 5 iconic installation artworks since 2000.
Wim Delvoye's Cloaca original of 2000 is a full-scale mechanical simulation of the human digestive system, a series of glass containers, pumps, tubes and chemical processes that fed real food twice daily by a team of technicians, processes and digests it until it eventually defecates, producing waste that Delvoye vacuum-sealed and sold as art. Something Piero Manzoni would have enjoyed, I guess. It implicates its own maintenance staff, who appeared in lab coats to feed the machine each day as though conducting a solemn ritual. And also as a formal object. It is generally spectacular, a gleaming industrial apparatus that looks like it belongs in a pharmaceutical plant and not in a museum. The vacuum-packed excrement was sold at prices that rose with the machine's renown, and the work travelled internationally in various iterations. The franchise logic was itself part of the joke, albeit an iconic one. Martin Creed won the Turner Prize in 2001 for a work consisting of exactly what its title describes. The lights in an empty room switching on and off at 5-second intervals. Nothing else. The scandal, therefore, that followed, in the form of tabloid outrage, questions asked in Parliament, a visitor who threw eggs at the gallery walls, was itself part of what the work produced, forcing a public confrontation with the most basic questions about art's definition, legitimacy, and institutional framing that the Turner Prize had ever generated. In the end, this particular work belongs to his broader endeavour of asking what the minimum conditions of art might be, and what we notice when everything else is stripped away. That the answer turned out to be the room itself, its size, its quality of light, the slight anxiety of the dark interval, is, on reflection, not a trivial finding at all. Yayoi Kusama has been making mirror rooms since the 1960s, pioneering immersive installation, culminating in arguably one of her most iconic iterations in 2002 with fireflies on the water. The installation places the viewer alone on a small platform suspended over a shallow pool in a darkened room, whose walls and ceiling are lined entirely with mirrors. 150 small lights hang at varying heights above and around the platform. Their reflections multiply in the mirrored surfaces and the water below into what appears to be an infinite field of soft-colored illumination, stars or fireflies, extending in every direction without limits. Kusama has described her mirror rooms as expressions of her lifelong experience of self-obliteration, a condition she calls infinity nets, in which the boundaries of the self dissolve into a surrounding pattern. She has lived with this condition since childhood, seeking treatment and also making it a central subject of her art. And across decades and media, that include, for instance, also painting, sculpture, but also performance and even fashion, the work has been shown at major institutions worldwide and has become one of the most sought-after and reproduced installations of the century, inspiring a wave of participatory mirror environments by other artists that, in all honesty, never quite matched this one. Olafur Eliasson filled the turbine hall of Tate Modern with an artificial sun in the winter of 2003, and the result became one of the most visited and discussed installations in the history of the institution. The weather project consisted of a semicircular disc of monofrequency lamps, yellow light that strips all other color from the space and skin, backed by a vast mirror suspended from the ceiling that doubled the hall and its occupants into an infinite hazy sky. It arrived at a precise cultural moment, one could argue, the early years of serious mainstream anxiety about climate change, and turned a former industrial building into something between a cathedral and a weather system. That it achieved this while remaining rigorously formal and conceptually precise without resolving into sentiment is what arguably separates it from the many immersive spectacles it has indirectly inspired. Doris Salcedo has spent her career making art about absence, violence, and the accumulated weight of historical trauma, And her contribution to the 2003 Istanbul Biennial was among her most spatially and conceptually audacious works. Working in the gap between two adjacent buildings in the city, Salcedo inserted 1,550 wooden chairs into the space, stacked, wedged and suspended in a dense column that rose several stories between the facades, visible from the street below. The chairs were sourced from Istanbul's flea markets and second-hand dealers, each one carrying the residue of ordinary domestic life, wear, repair, and, in a way, also the memory of the bodies that had sat in them. The chair is therefore also one of the most charged of domestic objects in Salcedo's practice. It's a signifier of presence, of gathering, of the space held open for someone who has not yet arrived, or who will not arrive. Masked in this way and displaced from any interior, stacked until the column feels like an archaeological deposit of human life, they became a monument to the disappeared, to the unnamed, to the sheer accumulative weight of anonymous loss.
This concludes the first 5 of our top 10. We're currently still writing the article and it will go live within 2 weeks when we share part 2 of this selection of iconic installation artworks. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to watch our video on the most iconic paintings since 2000 next. Support us on Patreon and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.